Hi, this is Diane here. I am cooking beef stew today. This is our first recipe for our newsletter. Woo! So, I'm not comfortable being on the camera, so I'm going to do everything kind of behind the scenes, and I'm also by myself, so it's a little bit of a challenge. So I thought I'd be able to have a little assistant video me, but it's not working out. So what I'm going to do is kind of take you through the simple tips and tricks on how to make a wonderful beef stew. You can make it any way that you want, with any meats you want. You can make it in the oven. You can put it in a slow cooker. If you do it in the slow cooker, you can prep it the night before, toss it in the slow cooker in the morning, come home to a wonderful hot meal on a cold day. So I have my meat browning in here, and the trick with your meat, I'm using pork and beef. You can use any meat you want, or you can use tofu if you're vegetarian. The trick with your meat is to make sure that you dry it, and that way it gets this nice browning that happens. If you don't do that, it takes a lot longer for it to brown, and it's not as beautiful. I've already browned up some chopped bacon, and I've also caramelized my onions and some clarified oil, olive oil and butter. So trick there, you want to put your oil and your butter in together in the frying pan. Once it gets hot enough, the oil will no longer, the butter will no longer foam, sorry. And once it's clear, it's ready to put in whatever you want, and it's hot enough. Here's my olive oil. So I have everything prepped up ahead of time. As you can see, I have all my bowls and everything. I find this time saving to cut it all and chop it all up and put it into bowls right away. You don't have to go back and forth, try and figure out what you need, worry about whether you're missing anything. You have it all in once. Recipe is going to be on the newsletter, so you're going to be able to see what I put in and how I did it, and the directions will all be there. So I'm just kind of giving you some quick tips on how to make this go a little bit less painfully than any other normal night. I find this the easiest thing whenever I'm baking or cooking. Prep everything, all my ingredients into bowls right away. I don't have a dishwasher. I don't mind doing the extra dishes. Most people have a dishwasher. That's even easier. So you don't have to do all the dishes. So I have chopped onions, garlic, olive oil, chopped tomatoes. I love tomatoes in my stew. It makes it taste a little bit more earthy to me. I like vegetables in my stew, so I have some of my favorites, which is green beans, carrots. Again, you're going to see me later. I'm going to talk about my carrots. I love to slice them on an angle, makes them look nice and pretty. I love acorn squash. You can throw in potatoes, you can throw in turnips, whatever you like. I have some red wine. If you don't want wine, it's not a problem. Add more stock. If you have beef stock or vegetable stock, it doesn't matter. You can do either or. Flour to thicken your sauce when you do it. I have a little extra beef stock on the side, and I have my wonderful bay leaves here. And any one of those adds so much flavor. That's my one dry ingredient because I couldn't find any fresh on this weekend. Other thing I have here is fresh thyme. You can use dried, you can use fresh, doesn't matter. I prefer using fresh ones if I can find them. If I can't, then it's not a big deal. Dry ones work as well as the fresh. I find the fresh are a little bit better. And we have some tomato paste and butter right there. So here's my meat, all chopped up, all ready to go. So here I am, I'm browning my meat. And as you do your meat, you don't want to crowd it into the pan. You want to leave it some room so that they brown nice and evenly. Okay, I don't know if you can see it, I'm trying to do it in one hand. It is a little difficult. My pan is kind of moving as I turn. Anyway, so I'm getting ready to make my sauce. So I have my beef stock, which I'm going to pour in. Okay. Just going to take my meat out of this frying pan. So I'm just going to grab my meat out of here because I want to show you how to make the sauce. So I've put my beef stock in the big pot. Well, and look at that, I'm making a mess. Anyways, so you want your little bits of meat you have here. This is where it gets nice and fun. You have to keep those little bits because you want to have these little bits so that you can have a really nice flavorful sauce. So you put in your wine, okay? And you want to cook you want to heat up the wine. So you want the alcohol to kind of burn off a little bit, right? And then we're going to add a little bit of beef stock in there as well. And get the little bits going, okay? And then we're going to add it in to our pan. And I'm going to kind of let it thicken a little bit after I add in my flour and my butter together. So I'm going to do that with my butter and flour while I'm waiting for this to kind of boil a little bit. You're going to see it kind of start to bubble a little bit. While I'm doing that, I'm just going to take a fork and get my butter and flour kind of combined here, as you can see. So it's kind of hard to do. Maybe I should get a stand for the next time, or make sure I have an assistant. So you just want to kind of get them into kind of like a crumbly little paste here. And this is what's going to help thicken our sauce. Okay, so as you can see, our wine is starting to get a little bit on the bubbling side. Okay, and it's kind of dissipated in this, the alcohol. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to toss it into my big pan here. Okay, so I'm going to get my whisk as well, because I have a handy little whisk. My whisk is a user-friendly for a you know, one of those whisks that you have for your pans that are non-stick. You know, you don't want them to be very scratched up by using stainless steel, right, on top of that. So I tend to use these. So much better, so much easier. And the whisk will just help you to keep it from getting all really lumpy. You want to use a really robust wine, a really flavorful wine, but whatever wine you really, really like, it's probably the best one to use. And that's the one you want to drink when you have this, if you're going to have a drink of wine with your meal, because then it kind of pairs it up. I just wanted to get a little bit thick. Just want to show you here about the clarifying of the butter. So when the butter is hot enough, you will see that right now it's foaming. Once it's melted up and it starts to get hot enough, it will no longer foam. And that's when you have the right heat for your butter, so you don't have to worry about whether or not it's hot enough for you to start cooking anything in it. So I just wanted to show you that clip on how to do that so that you would know exactly what you're looking for. So it takes a little bit of time. You got to be a little bit patient. My pan is fairly hot, so it shouldn't take too long. But as you can see the foaming happening. But you can see how the bubbles are starting to dissipate. And as the bubbles start to dissipate, you will see that it clears up. So like right here, it's very, very clear. And it's starting to do that throughout the rest. And so once it's at that clarified point, as you can see, it's now starting to be perfect enough to start putting your stuff in. So I'm just going to let it go with that, and I'll come back. Here I am back again. As you can see, my meat is all wonderfully browned. So beautiful. So the first thing I'm going to do is add in my chopped tomatoes. I've also added my tomato paste in with my chopped tomatoes, so that'll save me a little bit of time right now. So I have that all together. I'm going to add in my onions. Next thing I want to do is add in my spices. So again, bay leaf, awesome, flavorful. Thyme. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of a stir around, just to blend it all together. Okay. Now here's where you want to add in a little bit of more of your salt and pepper. You should be doing a little bit of salt and pepper when you do your browning of your meat, because you want to add some salt at least to your meat. So here's my salt and pepper going on. I'm just going to stir that around too. And I've already added in my thyme, so my thyme's in there. I'm gonna add in my carrots, my squash, and my wonderful, beautiful fresh green beans that I got at the store today. So give that all just a little bit of a stir together. It looks very beautiful. Now, if you didn't have this with any vegetables, you could just make the beef stew, just the beef itself with the sauce.